It's one thing, it's how you think. And I am in the business of thinking bigger, better, bolder for good results. I don't care if it's health, wealth, happiness. So I want you to know the 3-second NeuroShift is not a technique, it's a transformation. When you change your state, you change your world. You must lead from within, whether it's health or healing, whatever your heart desires. You must learn to lead from within and live from awareness. And that's how you get your freedom. Okay, next. And next. Next. So I want to just, excuse me, set something straight. And that is the myth of change. Everybody says people don't change. In the United States, 50% of the people are married and divorced. That's a change. And most of them remarried. People only have a job for a few years these days. People change if there's something in it for them. So what we're going to be talking about is how you frame it, whether you call it NLP or what type of communication. That is your job to bring around health and wellness. And that can all happen in 3 seconds. Yeah, change doesn't have to take time. I remember in the 60s, people were seeing, it was Freudian then. And they were seeing their therapist for years. That's a lot to pay for a best friend. We can change. I don't care if it's an addiction, what habit, a thought, a self-sabotaging script. You can do it in 3 seconds. Next slide, please. Please. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go through this quickly. Why do we repeat things? It's because, and I was kind of surprised, I spoke at a Magnus conference in Florida. I was shocked how many mental health workers really weren't aware of the psychology of consciousness. That's the core of behavioral change. 95% of all your behaviors and your decisions, they're made by the subconscious. What I am getting across to you today, what my book will reveal, is that we have to take things out of the closet, out of the subconscious, and bring it to the light, to the conscious mind, so that we can then make a conscious choice about what we eat, how we sleep, how we tend to ourselves, the health, the wellness that we have. But if 95% is running below the surface, that is where the change has to be. That's where it has to come. So we're basically on autopilot. It's automatic habits, emotions, and so people repeat them. They go back to a very abusive relationship. They go back to crack or cocaine and eating the brownies. That is not healthy. That is what we have to interrupt. That kind of thinking, those thoughts, those habits, those behaviors. Aristotle said, first we make our habits and then our habits make us. We are what we repeatedly do. And that's where the change has to happen, in what we do. Next slide, please. Next, yeah. You know what? Because of time, I'm going to have you just take a quick look at this. But I just want to say, Earth, we have a problem. I mean, 85% of the population, and this is probably based on the United States, feeling that probably not good for Denmark because they're always known as the happiest country. But 85% feel inadequate, suffer from low self-esteem. 75% experience significant stress and anxiety. And at least in the United States, 70% of adults are overweight or obese. These are problems. And we know that obesity, we eat our grave with our mouths, with the food that we eat. So if you want to take a snapshot of this, we may be doing a documentary on this, so I can't share the whole slides deck. Okay, next one, please. And so the bottom line is we have a challenge. I want everybody to read this. If I had $1 for every time I got distracted, I wish I had a puppy. Is this what's happening? There were just 3 plane crashes this weekend in the United States. It's distraction. You know what? It's one of these. It's a problem. And when the brain is overstimulated, and we will be talking more about that, it freezes and it goes to the limbic system, which isn't where we make our best decisions. So Can we go to the next one, please? That point is that so it's stimulus overload. When the brain gets stuck, and that's where people are, there's not cognitive thinking. I always say, that critical thinking is the other national deficit, and it is. And it's because we're not engaging. There's a short circuit in the brain, and we're not engaging the neocortex, where we have our creative problem solving, where we have better decision making, where wisdom connected to intuition is going to come from. Let me have you do an exercise. I would like you all, for a moment, just start moving your right foot. Would you do this? Move your right foot in a counterclockwise manner. Start moving your right foot counterclockwise. Now take your right hand, and with the index finger, start moving your hand in a clockwise position. And guess what happened? You got stuck. You got stuck, and this is happening, and people were not making good decisions, whether it's the 3 plane crashes, deciding wars. I don't care. We are not making the decision. I did a couple TEDx talks. The second one was, is AI and digital dopamine making us dumb? Do I use AI? Yeah, help me with the slides. It's a tool. Is it making us dumb? Well, I will tell you, I'm in my 83rd year of life, and I still ski. I just bought new skis, so I don't plan on hanging up soon. So yeah, if age is just a number, there's some truth. It's how you think. And the fact is that the IQs in the United States were about 15 points higher in my age group than young kids today. We have a problem. Next slide. Okay, and so these are the 5 core hidden triggers: the chronic stress, the limiting beliefs, the self-doubt, the poor identity. And know that if you got to be careful when you give people a diagnosis. You could be giving them a death sentence. When you, as a doctor, if they say you have 3 weeks to live, not good. Why would you do that? How many people, I have friends, they were told they had 3 months to live. 10 years later, they're still alive. Joel Osteen, the big preacher out of Texas, his mother lived decades after she was supposed to die. No, do you have to be honest? Yes, but it's how you frame it. Don't say what you're planting a death sentence in their brain. And the brain is a very powerful, it's pretty powerful. As Cher said, it's your greatest curse and it's your greatest blessing. So it's how you use it. So you might say, hey, we have some challenges here. Here is what we're going to do about it. And we're going to be talking more about hope in just a minute. So the emotional overload, we've got to get emotional regulation. I mean, in the Charlotte, a city nearby, the murder rate among teens went up 300% in 1 year a couple of years ago. Emotional regulation is crucial. And people don't understand procrastination. It's just having another priority, or it's that the limbic system is running on history, fear, doubt, being told you're not enough, you'll never make it. And so we put off taking the risk that we need to take to grow. Next slide, please. Mm-hmm. Here's just a glance of some of the telltale signs that this is what's going on in the subconscious, where you're not moving forward, whether it's health, wealth, total well-being, doesn't matter. When you start making excuses, see what people do. If they say they're a smoker, what do? Well, I've always smoked. It's hard to quit. Nah, that's not how change comes about. When you use excuses to reinforce an old identity that does not serve you well, it's time to shift. That's what my book is about. Next slide, please. So let's just start with this. Because your brain is a brilliant servant, but it's also a dangerous master. It's a great servant, but it's a great master. So I have a keynote called Be the Boss maybe that's the keynote here. I don't even know. Be the boss of your brain. I think it is. And that is where you have to take charge. And remember, if 95% is on autopilot, this is how you do it. Next slide, please. So here is the conflict where our brains are wired for survival, but they're designed to thrive. So we tell people, have goals, achieve this, go to med school, whatever. But your brain is wired for survival. So we have this clash. And the survival brain is reactive, not making wise decisions. It's fear-based. It's habitual. It likes doing the same old thing. It's not growth-oriented. It's stress-driven. It's focused on protection. I mean, the main job of the brain is to keep you safe and secure. And safety and security, I mean, Elon Musk would not be a trillionaire if he was focused on his survival brain. So the Thrive brain, which is creative, calm, purpose-driven, mission-driven, and focused on growth, can only be expressive when we get the survival brain under control. Next slide, please. And this is the truth, gang. The brain is a wonderful organ. It starts working the moment you get up in the morning, and it doesn't quit until you get into the office. And there's some truth to this. And actually, workplace productivity is down significantly, like 70% in some areas. This is crazy. Earth, we have a problem, and I'm here to fix it. Next slide, please. So, this is pertinent to you especially. The brain doesn't decline with age alone. No. I'm still skiing, and I just bought new skis, and I'm in my 83rd year of life. I'm going. The kids are taking bets, but it's repetitive, predictable habits actually reduce neural activity. And I'm speaking to an activity therapist group right after this talk. This is a problem. We know that especially older people, they like their routine. They want their meds at 4. They want their dinner at 5. They want bingo at 6. Now, does that reduce some stress for them? Yes. But it also reduces the neural activity. So if you're working in a nursing home or assisted living or anything where aging is the challenge, let's get some breaking up of the habits and the stimulation. I think that's why bingo, there's a surprise element. They get their dopamine. Next slide. And so the bottom line is, the NeuroShift applies to sales, marketing, leadership, parenting, stress, trauma. It applies to everything. So pressure doesn't create character. It reveals conditioning. Who are you under stress? Well, here we go. Trauma and the brain. Listen to this. Children exposed to violence in their family. I used to do a lot of family counseling. Those kids show the same pattern of brain activity as soldiers exposed to combat. And that is why I'll be talking about it later. I have a nonprofit to wire children for health, happiness, and success at the right time. You got to get them before 7 because they shift from their alpha brainwave activity. And that's why they're so impressionable. They're in a meditative state. And so if they have trauma at an early age, it's pretty traumatic, much more. And if they have good messages and suggestions planted into their brain and their subconscious at that early age, and when they are impressionable, they'll be the next Elon Musk or whatever they want to be. And so that is my way of leaving a legacy. And if you have children, you need to talk to me because I can promise you, I can elevate their health, happiness, and success. Okay, next one. So moving on, we have, please. I like to keep the flow going, honey. Is anybody at the wheel? Could we have the next slide? Okay, so what do you see there? What do you see? Coca-Cola? Many people see Coca-Cola, but it's Coca-Cola. And the reason I bring this up is because we are constantly projecting. What we perceive is a projection of what we believe inside if we don't change our beliefs. So people that say, oh, everybody hates me, my family's against me, people at work criticize. Yeah, it's a projection of your self-esteem and your image. And that's, we expected to see Coca-Cola, and many of you did until you paused and took a second thought. And this is where mental health gets a little bit messed up. So let's go to the next slide, please. And next slide. I want to have the control. There we go. From chaos to clarity. We've got to move from reactivity to resilience. I don't follow it closely in other countries, but unfortunately, you're kind of following the ways of the US in ways. And the reactivity, I mean, if somebody doesn't put pepperoni on their pizza, they're dead. This is crazy because people are coming from the emotional brain and the instinctual brain, the limbic system. Their amygdala is on overload. It's going off all the time. Everything is perceived as a threat. Putting pepperoni on pizza is a threat, but I just showed you we are a projection. Our perceptions are a projection of our inner reality. This is where you as therapists need to intervene, regulate the mind state, elevate, and transform the results. Next slide, please. This is good, but it's just almost too much for the short time that we have. But these are the things you need to look at. First is awareness. What is your self-talk? Are you in a state of calm and composure, or are you reactive? And then we're going to be talking more about identity and beliefs, because that's the core of the success you have in life, whether it's health, wealth, or happiness. I don't care. And then it's the stress and energy management. We're going to be talking about dopamine because, as I said, my second TEDx talk was as AI and digital dopamine making us dumb. There's only one addiction, and it's dopamine. We'll be talking more about that. And then getting into the goals, and I'll tell you why goal setting backfires. Motivation, I already talked about the subconscious, and that's going to give us the results of the habits and behaviors. Could we have the next slide, please? And yeah, I just wanted you to get a snapshot of the 4 primary networks that we as therapists need to train. You can just take a quick look: stress response, the salient network, the executive. The executive, again, is the neocortex, where we make better decisions, problem solving, creativity, and so forth. And then the default and the lower ones are the subconscious, which is not always in our awareness. Next slide, please. Okay, listen to this. Persistent negative thinking may be linked to changes in brain structure, including reduced hippocampus activity and weakened prefrontal cortex function. However, the brain, listen to this. This is why we all have to be neuroplasticians. The brain remains neuroplastic, and practices like gratitude and mindfulness may actually help strengthen neural pathways over time. Because when you're gratitude, you're focused on the positive. Worry is a wish you don't want. Fear is negative goal setting. When you are focused on gratitude, you're in a positive emotional mind state. That raises your frequency. And if you want to know more about vibration, frequency, energy, Dr. David Hawkins' Power versus Force is a book you must get. He's a PhD and an MD. And so that's why love, we talk about love as being very high, and it is. And compassion Next slide, please. So it comes down to hope. And that is the real engine of motivation and healing. I worked with Dr. Carl Simonton. He was an oncologist, passed, unfortunately, choked on a pill or food or something. And he was at MD Anderson, one of the best cancer research places in the United States. And he brought in visualization. Oh boy, I think it was back in the 70s. He was on 60 Minutes and applied visualization to reducing cancer. And he was getting significant results. And at that time, Pac-Man was in. He was working with children. And he would have the Pac-Man chewing up the cancer cells. And he was getting results. And so we have to know that hope increases the immune system, builds the white blood cells, and we want that. We want to build our immunity. And it's just, see, every thought is an electrical impulse that creates a whole biological, biochemical change in our body. And that's another pathway to health and wellness. I'm not about treating the symptoms. That's after the fact. Let's get to the heart of change and wellness and prevention. And that's where we can talk about aging later on. So hope actually activates and fuels forward action. It strengthens the body's immune system. And that's why if somebody's got a bad diagnosis, yeah, this is the diagnosis. This is a challenge. That sounds a lot better than you got 3 days to live. And you might say, let's, there's maybe preparation we have to make, but this is how we're going to fight it. Give them hope. And those are the people that live 20 years after some doctor had said, you got 3 days to live. Okay? Be honest, be upfront, be fair, but give hope. Next slide. Next, please. Neuroscience research suggests real personal change begins when the brain stops. I talked about that earlier. Defending your old identity. Well, I can't do this. My mother always did this. My dad was bad. They were all alcoholics. We're all alcoholics. That's your identity, and you're going to make excuses for it. You will never change. The moment I have a friend, he quit smoking and drinking in less than 3 seconds. He just said, I don't smoke, I don't drink. He changed his identity, threw away his last pack of cigarettes. And, I'm old enough to remember when doctors recommended smoking to reduce anxiety. We've come a long way. Take it to the next slide, please. So, the anatomy of a belief. This is the heart and soul of everything. Beliefs sculpt our identity. Nothing manifests until beliefs align with our desires. Our goals have to be in alignment with our beliefs, our values, and our identity. And so you, as a physician, as a therapist, please remember this. You're there to facilitate alignment. So better decisions can be made, belief system changes, motivation. Motivation. If you're going to try to motivate, I'm a motivational speaker. I've been one for 60 years. I honestly kind of rather be called an inspirational speaker, because when you're motivating someone, what we're often doing, and you can go to the next one, what we're often doing is manipulating them to do something that we think they should do or they say they want to do. That's not how change comes about. Could we have the next slide, please? Okay. It's interrupting the old pattern and making the shift. See, it's all about alignment. You don't have to motivate me to speak or to do that. I love this. Everybody comes into this world with a soul's code and a calling in life. A singer must sing, a dancer must dance, a writer must write. There's people like my brother, as my dad is mechanical. My brother at 3 years old, he had to take apart radios. Every Olympian, I have a book, Winning, How Winners Think What Champions Do. Every Olympian, you interview them. Well, at 3 years old, I just knew I wanted to skate. The parents didn't even encourage it. They demanded it. There is a time when our calling is revealed, and it is when we're young, 3 to 7, and then again in our teens. But a lot of times it's like, you should be a doctor, you should be a nurse, you should be a lawyer. And you might be putting a square peg in a round hole. Let people radiate and express and let it come from in. That's internal motivation. And it's reinforced by dopamine. And dopamine sets it in. And if you have early habits, bad habits, eating potato chips and junk food, and not exercising, sitting on your phone all day, using this as a convenient babysitter for your kids, that's how they're getting their dopamine. Now you got an uphill to climb. And it's going to be tough. But if you have the right habits at the right time, which is why I have the children's program, if you instill them, I've got great nephews. They eat kale chips, not potato chips. They eat spinach muffins, and they love them. They don't want sugary juices no. Because the dopamine, everybody says it's the pleasure neurotransmitter. No. Yeah, it does make you feel good, but it feels good with whatever is repeated. That's why we have to intercept and interrupt habits. So here's the 3-second NeuroShift. Number one, you got to be aware of what the problem is. You know what I mean? You just got to pause and reflect. Your body is your truth. It's a vessel of truth, right? And so let your body, if you're feeling tense, your breathing is shallow, you get a headache or whatever. Can we go back to that a little bit? Go back one, please. You got to pause, reflect, take 3 deep breaths, and then you pivot. You make a conscious choice. And in that 1.5 to 3 seconds, there's 8 pages of the research that verifies all of this from all over the world. It's in my book. You then pivot and you have that moment. There is 3 seconds neurologically that we get to change the trajectory of our lives, our health, our wealth, our well-being. We change direction. We stop the negative self-sabotage, the little voice that said you're not enough, the limiting beliefs. They don't serve you well, and you have that split second to change the trajectory. Then you reset. It's like having a fresh start, and you pause, you reset, and then you repeat it. And the repetition kind of solidifies the rewiring. It builds new habits, and guess what? The dopamine then kicks in, and you have a whole new way of being that's health-based. Next slide, please. So visualization. It says it's not manifestation. Actually, visualization is manifestation, but it is so much more. It is a measurable biological process that rewires your brain. What the mind sees, the body believes. Seeing is believing. It even says walk by faith, not by sight. So our senses are good. They are information, they are input, our feedback to make a shift. But with the mind, your body is a pull toy to the mind. Seeing is believing. But it's not just seeing. It's more that what you see, you have to feel it. That's more important. There's more energy there. And you have to see it as though it has already happened and be grateful. I'm going to talk more about that. Next slide, please. So what I was talking about is I honestly believe dopamine is the only real addiction. Because if you're taking cocaine all the time, it gives you a dopamine hit. You're looking for more dopamine. The 3 top reasons, top sources of dopamine are shopping, sex, and chocolate chip cookies. Not necessarily in that order. Oh, wow. But you know what? For me, it's doing exactly what I'm doing now. And that's why if I can still speak at 95, I'll be on. Because that's how I get my dopamine. I always say it's better than sex, but I have nothing to compare it to. It's not bragging or complaining. So Dopamine isn't motivation. It's the signal that helps you choose. And this is where you can intersect bad behaviors, habits that no longer serve you well, sabotage your health, and make a shift into making a decision that aligns with your goals and gives a reward to them. So dopamine helps you choose. The discipline helps you follow through. Purpose helps you keep going. That's how you win at life. Every decision shapes your future. Give me next slide, please. This is kind of my logo. So you may want to take a picture of this, but this kind of says it. There's the stress, the reactivity. We become aware of it. We got to do something about it. We interrupt it. We let it go. We see it on a cloud. We feel it leaving us. We stuff it in a gunny sack, drag it off to the end of the dock. I live on the lake. See it going to the depths of the sea. We breathe it out. You're going to breathe anyhow. Have people breathe out, exhale the fear, the doubt, the worry, the guilt, the shame. And then have them breathe in hope, health, happiness. You need to anchor the transformation with triggers, okay? And that can be breathing. You don't just sip your water. I sip it and I think of it as liquid calm or liquid confidence. But see, you need a physical trigger to create the emotional state that you desire. Because the brain, it kind of works like a small child. It's too abstract to just have the thought. You need a physical action as an anchor, an emotional trigger that will change your state. And remember, the subconscious the brain doesn't read language and words. It understands states. The emotional state that you are on activates healing and a pathway to success. Next slide. So it's all about focus. What are you going to focus on? And are you going to focus on goals, or are you going to focus on the history of the past? I always had a problem as an occupational therapist. I was on a psych unit, and I was disturbed that we spent all our time describing the problems that Nellie had. No, I say 4 to 6%, we define the problem. Once you have the problem defined, the rest of the energy goes to the solution. And you bring them in as co-pilots, as partners in their success. That's how you engage them. And so the questions we ask activates the reticular activating system. It goes on an automatic search like a computer. That's why if you think, oh, I can't think of that name. I met her yesterday. What is her name? And then you're taking a shower. It comes to you. Why does it come to you? Because you first ask the question. Children who are asked more often as children, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're more successful. What is the difference between you and Albert Einstein and you and Oprah Winfrey? It's how you think. It's what you focus on. It's how you think. And it's the questions that you ask. One of my favorite questions is, what would you be doing if you knew you couldn't fail? Would that encourage you to take the next step forward, to create a growth mindset, to change, to choose behaviors that serve you well? Next slide. And so psychology says when you focus on problems, the mind finds more stress. When you focus on possibilities, it sees opportunities. So what we do when we start and choose a positive mind state, like I said, worry is a wish you don't want, fear is negative goal setting. It's magnetic. You might call it the laws of attraction. But you see, what I know is that you don't chase your goals. You don't attract them. You radiate them. So my book kind of takes off with a secret. the documentary, The Secret, The Laws of Attraction left off. It goes another step further. You don't attract it. Yeah, you do, but we go beyond that. You radiate it. So when you visualize, when you set your goals, see, if you set your goals and you say, I want more health, the brain hears that as that you're lacking. It's a state of scarcity, and it activates the thrival brain, which takes you down a sewer. No, you don't want that. You cannot talk to your brain that way. It's sensitive. And so when you say, I want, the brain reads it as you are in a deprived state, and it'll give you more deprivation. You have to radiate it. You have to act as if, what's his name? Mark Victor Hansen, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He said that he didn't have a dang dime in his pocket. And he was running around telling everybody he was very rich. He just didn't have the money yet. See, he programmed his mind for that ideal version of self. Chicken Soup for the Soul, I think, next to the Holy Bible, has sold more books. Maybe Think and Grow Rich might be ahead. He's doing fine, because when he didn't have a dang dime, see, you might be broke, but you're not broken. You have to detach and get your patients to detach from their outside circumstances and build that character and mind state and emotional regulation and belief system and identity from within. And then when you get them in sync with their values, if somebody's a mother and there's a child whimpering in the night, they're up. My kids are 55. I don't wake up with a whimpering child. It is what you value. Get them in alignment, and health and healing will be theirs. Next slide. So you're not imagining it. Tough times really do make us stronger. I have a problem. If you're a parent that's a helicopter overprotected, I call those over negligent, what do I call them? Overindulgent, negligent parents. You're not doing your kids a favor. Your brain adapts, reorganizes, and builds new pathways every time you overcome a challenge. Let your child, I mean, you got to keep them safe within a certain, radius. But let them challenge them. Don't give them the answers. I remember I did this. My son was 18 months old and he was making his own breakfast. When a child can lift up the knife, let them butter their own bread. And my kids are very, very successful. I think I'm living proof of it. So next slide, please. And I know we started about 10 minutes late, so I've got to kind of close up. But know that every thought is an electrical impulse, and we get to choose the direction that we take. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I did very well as a psychotherapist speaker. I made millions, single parent. I made it in my 40s. I came to North Carolina, trusted somebody I shouldn't have. He was a convicted felon. I didn't know that. I went in to sell 2 lots because it was stressing me out, paying thousands every month and not getting rent from them. They're dry dirt. With a promise. People my age tend to grow up at a time when people could trust one's word. I lost everything. I went from a mansion to homeless. But you see, I didn't lose my identity. And I'm doing very well. I have bounced back. You too will become unstoppable if you practice what I am telling you. My mother always said, look at the bright side. So I'm sitting at one of the most gorgeous spots on Lake Norman. It's a 500-mile lake. I had the great view. I just didn't have a hose. I didn't have any running water, no flushing toilets for 15 months. But I also never had any doubt. I knew I was clear on what was mine. And I was grateful for the change. See, if you're grateful for what you want, as if it's already happened, it's here. I don't care if we're talking about health, houses, wealth, doesn't matter. The process is the same. You got to use the tool. Next slide, please. And we'll start closing up. We can move to it. So there's this paradox of mind. I watch people's language and people say, well, I'll try. No. You're not going to try. Trying is like being a little bit pregnant. You either are or you aren't. You either do it or you don't. You don't accept that language from people because there's no commitment. If somebody says they're going to try, there's no commitment behind it. There's no real decision. And then there's no interruption of the habit to make the change. So it's an interactive thing. Does language shape our thinking? Yes. Do thoughts shape how we see our language? But be aware of it and make people conscious so they too can make a conscious choice and move their life forward with boldness and health and happiness. Next slide. And now we have the neuroscience of gratitude, and I've already talked about that. I cannot emphasize it enough. When I had no running water, no flushing toilets, I was so grateful for this wonderful view. And you know what? You got to grow where you plant it. My mama told me that too. And I thought, you know what? I don't have a house. I don't have a commode. Oh, yeah, I had a pail from the Dollar Tree and I emptied it where everybody had a porta potty. But you know what? I had my creativity and I had a laptop and I wrote 7 books. This one, the 3-second NeuroShift, is my 8th. So you see, when you instill that attitude, people will heal themselves. Next one. So this is what you want, the most ideal biochemical cocktail that a person can have is, you know, the dopamine. It rewards curiosity, motivation. It's open-minded. It seeks possibilities. It rewards routine, but it also rewards risk. I mean, Evel Knievel, look at, what's his name? The Walendas. He's tightrope walking over the Grand Canyon in no net. And he's singing like Amazing Grace. He's on a high. So it's just there again, what we're reinforcing, the serotonin, having that state of calm and stability. And then the oxytocin, you know. And this is kind of reducing the oxytocin because I'm finding people don't even want to talk. I've got vacation rentals here. If I say, give me a call, it's more efficient, they run the other way. We have a challenge, but we will overcome. Next slide, please, and we're almost there. So the anatomy of a desire, it's having the vision of what's possible. The passion is the energy that ignites it and takes action toward our goals. But remember, you never want something. You always radiate what is yours. See, it's already there. What you want is already there. And that's how you trick the brain into making dang sure it happens. Next slide. So I'll tell you, technology, that can transform the industry. But what I'm talking about and encouraging in you is transforming humanity. So if we can go to the last slide. It's been fun being with you. There's a techie glitch right now, but the new book, the 3-second NeuroShift, if you go to my website, maybe give it a day to rewire your brain in the micro moments that rewire your destiny. I have a workbook with it. It is therapy in a box with the book, the workbook, and then I'm doing a master class, but I'm including 5 audios. That's where the magic happens in the master or in the workbook. But that's where they're called neuroactivation exercises. So all I can say is stop chasing your destination. You know, we're not a GPS. Start expressing it. Stop wanting, start being, stop shrinking, and start rising. Stop surviving, start creating. You know what? You were born to fly. You were built to rise. You were designed to thrive. Now go and be the boss of your brain. The bumblebee flies, but aerodynamically, the bumblebee should not be able to fly. But you know what? The bumblebee doesn't know it's not supposed to fly. So there's no limitation, and it flies. My question to you is, what would you be doing if you knew you couldn't fail? Go get the book. Call me with any questions. I think the information, next slide. If anybody wants to go to the website, please give me the next slide. It will also have contact information, QR code. There may still be a techie problem till tomorrow. Oh, wait, it should be edie@raether.com. And the website is there. I think Edie Raether might work too. You have my phone number. I have WhatsApp. Would love to chat more. Be well and make it happen. That's it. Thank you. Nope, we don't want to go there. Go back. Those are just hidden slides. You're good. Thank you for the privilege and for your most precious gift, your time. At my age, I know I only have so much of it. Bye for now.
Hi, Edie. Can I ask a few things and make some comments?
Yes, yes.
I really like your enthusiasm and your positivity.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a question that may not appear to be very, appropriate, but